Hi guys, welcome back to Miscellaneous Pleasures. Here I am with the seventh episode from season two of Dark. Last time was an interesting episode. We had Jonas go back to 2019. Basically caused the suicide of his father, even though that was not his original intention. And I'm struggling to find where I wrote my stuff. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, Essentially, what happened was he went back in time. We then saw him go to the lake, where there was already a younger version of himself, along with Martha, Bartosz, and Magnus. Uh, he was also the guy who, his version was the first person that kissed Martha, and he basically played his own wingman, sort of not wingman, but more like he sort of initiated the whole thing from our perspective, not necessarily from Martha's perspective. And then yeah, we had this party at Ulrich's place, his 25th anniversary, and he decided that that was the perfect day to have an affair with Hannah, or begin the affair with Hannah, should I say? uh, Even though, to be fair, it feels like sort of an oversimplification of the events, because as the episode began, I even mentioned a couple of times, not a couple of times, but then, I definitely mentioned once that both their lives, their marriage lives, were necessarily weren't necessarily great. They definitely weren't great. They probably weren't also good. Ulrich and Katharina was, I guess, better than what Mikkel and Hannah's was. But then, yeah, nevertheless. So that happened. We also had Franziska finding out for the first time. When you find out, it's always the first time. What I mean is, Franziska sort of seeing for herself what Peter did, or what Peter had been doing. Um, And yeah, we found out that Jonas was the guy who took Mikkel to 1986 on, the season one, episode one. He was the one who took him. Like, I sort of questioned it, I guess, once, like where Mikkel was, and sorry, rather, how Mikkel ended up going back to 86. Like, how did that happen? Uh, but then, yeah, it was through the help of the Jonas which has the neck bruise. Um, what else? Yeah, we had Magnus and Franziska in 1921 as adults, which means that they traveled back as adults, or they traveled back as youngsters and grew up to be in 1921 as adults. We don't know what's the case. But yeah, that was shocking. That was unexpected sort of thing. Like, that was completely out of the blue. Like, I did not even consider something like that. But yeah, that happened. So essentially, even they are part of Sigmunda's sort of group. Because I'm guessing, I've not seen the photo since then because I was worried about spoilers. But I wonder if Franziska, Magnus are there in that photograph, because we already know that Noah, Agnes, and Adam are there. So if even these two are there, then that would be like essentially most of the Sigmundas, right? I mean, there were like few people behind, but then I'm guessing they were the people that we saw in the fourth episode. Possible. Um, yeah, yeah. So season two, episode seven. Like, I don't know what to expect, but one thing that I do know is that, yeah, the one thing that I do know is that I'm going to finish the season today. So yeah, it's going to be an absolute ride, and I hope a good one. So yeah, here we go. Season two, episode seven, Dark. Oh shit! I forgot that I had not. Oh, you idiot. Okay, I did not see this coming. I'm not wearing my earphones. What an idiot. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if this changes things. Like, settings should be the same. Yeah. Here we go.
Der Mensch ist ein eigenartiges Geschöpf.
What? What is he
All
doing there?
Handlung ist motiviert aus Verlangen, ihn zu unterdrücken.
Okay, I'm guessing that these are all.
So wenig kann sich doch frei machen.
Yeah, these are all just sort of visions, and not visions, but like more like, I don't know what to call this, but it's something, and they're not actually there.
Denn solange der Sturm in ihm tobt.
Waren Sie die ganze Nacht hier?
Oh, 2016 was when Egon died, right? In his house.
Ist was?
So it's going to happen this episode?
Ich habe das Meeting mit den Franzosen für heute Vormittag neu angesetzt.
Again with the French, like honestly. Is there some sort of a backstory to this? It's like a joke or something? Because the French delegation, there was like mention of French delegation like 2 episodes ago, if I'm not mistaken. There was one about the French, I think, in the first couple of episodes. I'm pretty sure I've heard the French delegation and the French people or something, like 4th time in the season. Like, is this some sort of a running joke or something? Or like, I don't know. This is weird. Unless, of course, it's not a running joke and it's part of the story. But yeah, this is the episode that Egon is going to die. Oh, shit. Hannah had the briefcase, right? So wait, did she go back to like 86 or something? Oh, she hasn't gone back yet. Here she is. But she is about to go back.
Das nur die Leute im Bunker überleben.
Oh, okay, so that's what he said. Only people in the bunker will survive. Yeah, that's what I missed like 2 episodes ago in their conversation.
Was soll das denn jetzt heißen?
Dass du monatelang wusstest, was hier abgeht und du hast es weder mir noch irgendjemand anderem von uns gesagt.
Yeah, I was not really going to say anything about this because, trust issues and, you break the trust and all those type of things. Like, you can't really fault either of the people here, even though Bartosz is slightly culpable. But this was all before I realized something. And what I realized was, I just remembered how these people were before everything went bad. Like, last episode was a very good indicator of that, right? And, like, they weren't just, like, people who were classmates or something. Of course, from season 1, we know that Jonas and Bartosz, like, are good friends, or were good friends, because this guy sort of lied for him and sort of, kept the secret, if you may. So, they were obviously good friends. But the fact of the matter is, which sort of got confirmed by last episode, was that these 4 people were very good friends. Like, they weren't just classmates, they were, like, as best of friend you can be, like that sort of thing. Like, you sort of spend your time together, you have fun together, that type of friendship. So when you have that type of a bond, it sort of it makes sense why Martha is expecting Bartosz to have told her, or at least a Magnus or somebody, about all of this, and he didn't do that. So, as I said, I can't sort of defend Bartosz here. I understand why he did what he did, like keeping the secret and stuff. But it's sort of, I can't defend him. That's the point. And the interesting thing is, this conversation that these 4 people had, like, there is Elizabeth, I'm going to ignore her because she wasn't contributing anything to the conversation. But the other 4, like, Magnus said about how they have to tell this to somebody. Martha also is of the same opinion, and Francesca sort of supported that notion and sort of, gave a speech about how, keeping lies and keeping sort of secrets. And it has been her thing, like, for the last, from the beginning, really, like, secrets and stuff don't really help anybody. So, unlike other shows, where, there is this notion of keeping a secret and continues till the end. In this season, actually, we have seen like Stranger Jonas came back and wanted to tell people about, or at least his mother about this whole time travel thing. We have seen Hannah tell Charlotte and wanting to tell Katharina about this. So basically, everybody in the show, every sort of character in the show, I mean, knows about time travel now, and even the kids here are sort of wanting to tell people about it. So it's a different sort of thing. Like, I don't know the last time I've seen something like this being done in a TV show. So I do appreciate them for this.
Hat mir von ihr erzählt. Dem weißen Teufel.
The White Devil. Okay, we are hearing about this again.
Sie will uns töten. Uns alle.
Yeah.
Sie ist tot. Sie kann niemandem mehr wehtun.
Yeah, but this is time travel.
Aber sie hat doch noch gar nicht damit angefangen.
Imagine how it would sound to a person who doesn't know about time travel stuff like this. He would start believing in ghosts or something.
Das Dokument ist der Meldebehörde Marburg. Die Daten ihres letzten Personalausweises, bevor sie Marburg verlassen haben.
Marburg. Like, this was the place that
Keine Ahnung, wofür
Alexander was reading an article about last episode where some murder had happened, and obviously he was the guy who murdered, I guess.
1,71, schätze ich mal. Maximal. In dem Dokument steht aber 1,75.
Oh, the difference in height.
Sind sie?
Is that really obvious? Like, a difference in height of 5 centimeters or 2 inches? Like,
Das ist doch lächerlich. Ich würde sie festnehmen.
wow.
Wegen des Verdachts auf Identitätsmissbrauchs.
Oh my. Wow. Okay, this is going to be fun.
Entschuldigung.
Oh, it's Martha. I thought for some reason that it was Charlotte or Katharina. But this sounds like Martha, right? Yeah, it's definitely Martha, yeah. It was obvious from the look he was giving. I mean, this is happening to me like the third or the fourth time, honestly. Like, not fourth time, I think this is happening for the third time for me, where I've been reacting to a show, making this sort of reaction and stuff, and somebody has called me. Like, unbelievable timing that people have. And of all the times that they could have called me at, they decided to call me at the very second Martha realizes that this is Jonas. Wow. Oh, it's Hannah. Yeah, I suspected it would be Hannah. I sort of needed confirmation before making that statement. What are you doing here?
Nielsen. Katharina Nielsen.
What? Okay. I mean, I guess that's what you would do.
Da ist der Sohn deines Bruders. Mein Enkel und dein Neffe. Mikkel ist Michael Kahnwald. Martha, verstehst du? Und du bist seine Tante.
Okay, so that's one way to find out about all of this.
Es tut mir so leid.
Nichts. Und er ist auch Alexander. Alexander Köhle. Genau wie sie.
Oh,
Ein gängiger Name.
this guy killed his brother. I mean, I was going to talk about this at the end of the episode because, you know, I am writing down stuff to sort of remember and talk about. But then this is getting sort of out of hand now because I've had like 4 or 5 things written about Alexander and it's not even like half the episode yet. I mean, the first thing that I wrote down was that I sort of remembered through a scene in this episode. I don't know if it's going to be part of the reaction, where there was a talk of something in Marburg or Marburg, whatever. Like this was the place I remember last episode, where in like 2019, Alexander was reading a newspaper and there was a murder there, and you know it was kind of obvious that Alexander was the murderer. So I wrote that down because I was like, yeah, you know what, it's going to come up and I might talk about it. And then Alexander got arrested for identity theft because this guy, Clausen, had a doubt, or rather, right now it was more like a confirmation, but then, you know, he saw some passport registry or something, and his height was 2 inches or 5 centimeters in defense. So he got arrested. And now we are finding out that it was his brother that Alexander killed. And I mean, his original name is Boris Niewald or something, right? So he killed Alexander Cooler, or Alexander Cooler, yeah, who is this guy's brother. And that's why this guy is in this town. Like, there was this sort of, I think, query I raised like 2 episodes ago, maybe, where I was like, this guy like seems to know about stuff. I thought that he was a time traveler, like there was something different about him. It turns out the thing that's different about him is that he came to this job. He even said in an episode that he took this job, like if he wasn't offered it, but he took it, like something like that. And it makes sense because he essentially wanted to find out about his brother's killer, and I guess he found out that his brother's killer was in Vinton, and that's why he wanted to sort of come here. Like this is just, and it kind of makes sense because he was the guy who raised the suspicion about, hey, why is this guy's name, like why has he taken his wife's surname, I mean. And then he also had this thing about how he went and talked to Regina, for instance, like who is his wife. So like it turns out that most of his investigation has been about him and not really about Winton. So that was a very clever sort of, very cleverly done by the showrunners.
To Klaus.
I don't actually remember his actual name, but I still call him Clausen for some reason. So somebody wrote a letter to Clausen telling about Alexander. Why do I have a feeling that this might be Hannah? Because, you know, she's the only person who knows something about all of this, apart from Alexander himself.
Ähnlichkeiten mit ihm, aber ist das nicht mein Mann?
You, what? Wait, oh my god. Wow. Okay, I'll talk about this at the end of the episode. I mean, I paused enough.
Lass los.
Oh shit. Oh, don't tell me that this is how he dies. Oh, why? Like, how did I fall for this again?
Genauso liegen.
Like, there's a closed loop. Obviously, he was going to die, but why did I never think of the fact that she was going to be the one that caused it? You are joking. Unbelievable.
Es tut mir so leid.
Du bist der weiße Teufel.
Wow. he says this to young Claudia, and he also thought about this for the old Claudia. Completely different circumstances when he was young, of course, at the time.
Sie reisen heute noch zurück?
Da, wo ich herkomme, habe ich alles verloren. Alles, was ich will, ist ein Neuanfang.
Wait, so she's going to stay in 1954? What? Why do I have a bad feeling about this? Hannah, don't you dare go to Egon. That Jonas.
Wer bist du?
Oh, this is the first time that Claudia meets Jonas.
Du hast sie mir gegeben, bevor du gegangen bist.
Unsinn.
Aber sie hat auch gesagt, dass es nicht wieder so passieren muss. Nächstes Mal.
Okay, here's the talk of the next cycle again. Like, honestly, what's going to happen differently that's going to cause this next cycle, which is going to be different from all the cycles that have happened?
In die Zukunft.
Okay, so are they all going to 2020 now? Okay, that's the end of the episode. Oh, I mean, that was one hell of an episode. Yeah. One hell of an episode. Like, honestly, the amount of things that happened in this, like, I am going to struggle to keep this reaction under like 10-12 minutes or something, because I have no idea what to put and what not to put. Because, I mean, I paused like twice or thrice. I remember that. But then apart from that, like, honestly, this episode had me hooked, absolutely hooked. And this was as good a sort of penultimate episode of a season as you can get, I guess. Like, I mean, it all began with that weird sequence of scenes, right? It all began with that weird sequence of scenes where Adam saw Martha, Katharina saw Mikkel, I think, what's her name? Hannah saw Ulrich. I don't remember if there was anybody else in that sequence. But these are the people that, they saw. And for 1 second, I was like, what the hell is Martha doing in 1921? But of course, it was just a vision or whatever. But then right after that, I mean, I even wrote this down, that Hannah was with the briefcase, and then we sort of saw Stranger woke up, and he saw that the briefcase was missing. So, like, at that point of time, I was like, yeah, fine, you know what, maybe Hannah is going back to, like, 80s or something. But she ended up in 54. And, like, I'm going to talk about, even though I've written down points, I'm going to talk about character-wise as far as I can. Like, Hannah went to 1954. She somehow convinced Egon that that guy on the photo, or in the photo, was her husband. She then went, and she sort of questioned Ulrich about whether he likes Catherine or herself more. And the poor guy, like, honestly, I feel for Egon, yes, of course. But then I also feel for Ulrich even more after seeing all of this, because it was just like episode 5, right? Where we saw that sequence of scenes where he was with Mikkel and then got arrested again and then saw Magnus and Martha. And that was crushing, absolutely crushing. But I mean, after seeing that, and then to see this, the fact that in his past, 33 years ago, there was a person who could have gotten him out. Though I wonder if Hannah would have even been able to do that, even if she wanted to. But let's imagine a situation where she could have. Then, like, he had the situation there, but then because, like, honestly, that was. But then, yeah, we finally had Psycho Hannah back this season. And yeah, but then, yeah, of course, I'll just talk about sequence. So she went there and she did all the things, and then she lied that no, I'm not, that guy is not my husband. I got mistaken by the photo, which I guess would have been believable in 1950s, though it's not really now. But for 1950s, I'm guessing that, you know, the technology wasn't that great that you could capture photographs perfectly. So yeah, I guess that reason sort of made sense. And then she was having a cigarette with Egon and mentioned that, you know what, the place I come from, there's nothing for me there. So I want a new start. Like, I want to start afresh. So, like, is she going to stay in 50s now? And more importantly, I don't want to think this, but Egon and Hannah basically had that moment which sort of makes viewers go, if it had been any other two people, I would have been like, yeah, maybe there's something there. Because it's Egon and Hannah, I'm like, oh, Hannah, please don't do this to Egon. Like, that guy is such, I mean, his whole life, I mean, because he's dead now, I guess I can jump to that topic. Like, his whole life, he has been sort of around time travelers, and his whole life's work has been influenced or impacted by time travelers. And he had no idea about it, like, up until like an hour or so before his death. And like, I mean, it was so much time travel in his life that he did not notice, that it becomes eventually difficult to even notice stuff like that. Because unless, of course, you sort of want to think in that direction, time travel is not something that people think of, like normal people. If you came and told me tomorrow that you're a time traveler and you gave like sufficient proof, I would believe you. I'll probably believe you if there is sufficient evidence and you manage to convince me. But if you go and do that to some random person who has never seen some sort of a time travel movie or anything of that concept, and he knows barely nothing about it, then if you go and tell them that it's a time travel, this and that, you'll be like, mate, you're just crazy, like, leave me alone or something. So Egon, like, you know, he was impacted to such an extent that his wife had an affair with a time traveler. He met what he thought was a witch, because she and his own daughter at the time said the same lines to him on the same day, and the witch apparently died like a day or two later. And this witch also happened to have the same type of eye genes that his own daughter had. So this is one thing. And then there's this kid who went missing and came back, who talks about how this witch that he met was somehow the weiße Teufel, I mean, you know, white devil, as it's in English. And then he also sort of says something about how this white devil hasn't even begun her work, and she's going to kill all of us and stuff. And then he has a lot of years in him, and then he finds nothing about all of this. And then he goes to 86, where again people start to go missing. And then he has this, and I remember, like, even in the first season, he asked Jonas, right, about this Satanism and something. And I guess even in this season, so like it all sort of fits, and it makes for such a difficult sort of thing to imagine that Egon, this good guy, like, his life is like this, and he died like this. Up until like 1 hour before his death, he found out. So yeah, but then yeah, I actually wanted to, there was another point that I've written down, how Egon was asking Claudia about whether he was a good policeman, and he did not think that he was a good policeman because he thought that he made a mistake with Ulrich in 1953. because he did not know about time travel. How is that his mistake? Like, this guy is so good that he is criticizing himself for things that was definitely not under his control, definitely not something that people have predicted. And yeah, like, this guy is probably one of the most innocent guys in the show till now. I think, yeah, he's definitely one of the most innocent guys in the show till now. So that's that. And the white devil thing also, like, this is an interesting thing, right? So Helga told young Egon that the old Claudia that died was the white devil. And when Egon was old, he told the younger version of Claudia that she was the white devil, because I guess at that moment he realized that the person who died 33 years ago that he saw was her. Maybe he realized that, maybe he did not, but then that idea stuck with him, so that was that. But I guess, yeah, it was sort of fun to see something like that. I've already talked about Alexander and the investigation and stuff, so I don't think there's anything else to add to it, apart from the fact that Alexander killed Clausen's brother, and that's the whole reason he has been in this place and doing these investigations. But I mean, to be fair, he did some good police work. It's not kid ourselves. Even though some random guy, and I don't know who this random person is, who wrote this letter to Clausen and told everything about Alexander. The only person I can think of is Hannah, because Hannah is the only person who has the gun, who has the passport, who has everything about Alexander. And if nobody else knows anything about this, as far as we know, so yeah, I'm guessing it was Hannah, but then it also kind of makes sense, even though she would be very old in 2019 now, because she is in 1954. And unless she time traveled again, she would be what? I mean, she would be 100. So yeah, I don't think, maybe Hannah time traveled again and that's how she wrote the letter, or maybe, I don't know. But yeah, for some reason I thought it was Hannah at first. It would have to involve time travel for that theory to make sense. If not, I'm not too sure who wrote the letter, because there's literally no evidence to say who it could be. So that's that. Just give me a second. I'm just ticking all the points that I've talked about yet. Yeah. What else happened in this episode? The kids thing also I've already talked about, so I don't think I'll go into that again, because I mean, the parents sort of kept the sort of truth away from the kids, which sort of makes sense, because I guess that's what, first of all, it's a huge burden to know about time travel and all the messed up things that has happened with time travel. So it's not the best of ideas, I guess, to tell it to everybody. It's good to tell some people who are sort of involved in the whole thing, but it's not really the best of ideas to tell every single person about it. So I guess it kind of makes sense why they did not tell the kids. But I guess the kids found out themselves. So there is that. Okay, so yeah, talking of the kids, I guess now Martha knows about the messed up family tree. I'm not sure if she told Magnus about it. But I guess Magnus would have found out eventually, because he's there in 1921. So surely he knows about the messed up sort of whole thing, how this family tree is messed up, and how, like, I mean, yeah, he would definitely know. I don't know if he knows now, but then I don't think it matters too, because he did not seem to have such a big reaction to this whole family tree thing. Her reaction was more along the lines of, you know what, Mikkel is alive. My father is alive. That's a good thing. Like, he wasn't really caring about the whole family tree just then. So there is that. Actually, I have 3 points to talk about. So the first one I'll talk about is young Jonas met Claudia. So that was like the last thing that happened. Again, like, this is interesting, right? Like, you watch a show, you watch like what's been 17 episodes of a show, and I'm in such a position that I'm unable to predict what's going to happen next episode. Like, I mean, yeah, definitely, apocalypse is going to happen. That's for sure. We may have something happen with the investigation of Alexander. I'm not really sure what, though, because the one thing is, I mean, is Alexander even sort of, can Alexander still be arrested and sort of found guilty of the murder? Because I don't think there is any evidence of the fact that he killed, not especially when the murder happened like 34 years ago. And another thing being, the only thing that sort of links him to the murder is the letter. And I mean, even if the letter is written by anybody in the show, it can't possibly be like some sort of an evidence of murder. It's just like, I mean, I could write the letter and send it to somebody and tell that, you know what, this murder was done by this person. And it wouldn't make any sense for anybody to believe that. And the same goes for like, I mean, he's also a nuclear power plant sort of head, even though the power plant is going to be shut down. So yeah, I'm not really sure if he can be. And first of all, this murder happened 34 years ago. Again, I'm saying this because, I mean, I watched like US TV shows, like 2 or 3 of them, where there was something about how like you have to do something within like 5 to 10 years. I'm not really sure how the law works in Germany or USA for that matter. So maybe there is something to that, but then I'm not really sure about it. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, apart from that, like Jonas and Claudia going to 2020, I mean. But then, yeah, apart from that, I have no idea what's going to happen. But one thing that was mentioned like 2 episodes ago, and also like in this episode, was the fact that people in the bunker survive. So who are these people who will be in the bunker? I'm guessing Elizabeth, because we saw her. I'm guessing maybe Peter as well as Charlotta, because, I mean, even though we do not see either of them in the future, but then they do know about the bunker, so surely they would want to survive. Like, why would they want to kill themselves? It wouldn't make sense if they're not in the bunker. I'm guessing maybe that's how. No, that wouldn't make sense. I don't think Francesca will be in the bunker because she is with Magnus, right? They'll probably go to 1921 somehow. Or maybe they'll go through the bunker and then they'll time travel. I'm not really sure how that's going to work. I'm not even sure at this point how the bunker is like useful in surviving. Is it because it's underground so it doesn't get destroyed or something? So yeah, that's a very vital piece of information. So yeah, that will be interesting to see who all survive. I actually am going to react to the next episode like in 5 minutes. Not 5, I guess like 10-15 minutes. So even though I'm making this video big, for the one simple reason that I want to talk about everything and sort of let it simmer in my brain. And the final thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that this is something offbeat and not necessarily about the show. But I mean, it's about the show, of course, but then it's not necessarily about what's going to happen or something. It's the fact that I do like the fact that we have somebody who used time travel for their own good. Like, we have Claudia here. I mean, the young Claudia, she doesn't really know what's really going on. But then, you know, we have Jonas here who wants to stop, like, this whole time travel thing. And then we have Adam who wants to create this new world. We have Noah who has been killing people and who I think wanted to also find Charlotta and, like, you know, do stuff like that. Like, all the time travelers that we have met till now, they either want to save somebody from their family, they want to see somebody from their family, or they want to end the time travel, or they want to create a new world. Like, there are all these sort of big aims and goals and stuff, right? But then if you ask any person, like right now, go and ask any person who has watched time travel shows, you tell them, you know what, you're given time travel, what is the first thing that you're going to do? Or what is something that you would love to do? So they say answers like, you know what, I would like to go to the future and see something. Or I'd like to go to the past and do something. Or maybe I want to go to, like, you know, the great moments in history and I want to be a part of it or see it live or something. Like, these are the things that people say. These are all like sort of some things that make your lives better, make your like sort of get to enjoy stuff. And the one person who is just like that is Hannah. Like, she has used time travel. She has gone from 2020 to 1954, and she's, by the looks of things, she's going to have a very good life. Definitely, maybe she's going to have some sort of time travel again, and maybe we're going to see other things happen. But then the first thing that she did when she sort of got time travel was go to some time period away from all the rubbish that's there in her life and go and enjoy her life. So even though we have Psycho Hannah back, I can't really fault her for doing what she has done, because that's, I guess, what anybody would do. Go and use time travel for their own good and enjoy your life. So yeah, that's something that I did want to point out, because, you know, Psycho Hannah, yes, not the best person, not the best character in the show, but relatable, somewhat relatable at least. So that kind of is interesting. That's all for this reaction, guys. I don't really have anything else to add. So thank you so much for watching. Please do also share your thoughts on this episode, on the things that happened in this episode, and anything else. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.